So you've decided to go to the Bemm River in Victoria. Well, I remember the first time I went down to the Bemm River, people were saying, Siberia is unreal. Oh, mahoganies, don't forget about that. Swan Lake, go there. And I had no idea where any of these places were. I had no idea of distance. I had to just work it out for myself. Luckily, I was doing it with a Hobie comp, so a lot of people can point things out. But what I thought I'd do for you guys is I'll do a quick orientation on Bemm River and show you where the different locations are. Things like weed beds and flats and the deeper drift areas. I'll mark those up as well for you, so that if you're either going down for a social fish or if you're going down for any of the comps that are going to be on in the Bemm River, it's well worth having a look at. Let's get into it and we'll see what there is. So where is the Bemm River? Well, it's about 7 hours south of Sydney and about 6.5 hours east of Melbourne in the eastern provinces of Victoria. To give you an idea of the size of the place, what I've done is I've centred the area on the Hobie launch site, and I've put out radiating rings in 1 kilometre, 2 kilometre, 3 kilometres and 4 kilometres, just so you can gauge how far away things are from the launch site there. So here's the map with all the locations marked out as I've named them. Some of the places are their actual names, Siberia, Mahoganies, and Bob's Bay, and Mud Lake and Swan Lake, but I've just called a couple of the areas my names, like Hobie Flats, Bemm Central and Mud Lake Flats, just so we can easily find on the map. And we will start off with the one on the furthest on the west, which is Siberia. Now Siberia is a well-known area with some great flats and weed beds there. It's fairly shallow all the way through it, but you'll find some weed beds on most of the edges. When you get in nice and close, you'll also find some good sandy patches and some sand flats. And as you enter into Siberia, there is a deep channel that is worth having a flick for fish out in the deep. The next spot I just call Hobie Flats. Now, this isn't its real name, but it's right next to the launch, so I thought I'd put it in there. Right out the front, there used to be extensive weed beds that would cover this whole area. However, it's become a bit patchy over the last few years, but I'm sure they'll grow back. You also do have some sandy areas, which I call the flats, where it's just bare sand with a few patches of weed around. And also on the edge of the weed beds, you have a deeper area where it drops off into about 1.5, 2 metres. Great spot for flicking deep diving lures for bream. The next spot we'll go to is Bob's Bay. Bob's Bay is a large area and it has weed beds nearly all the way around the outside of it. This is one of my favourite spots, and in fact my best result, I got my first 3 fish, which is the bag, in 3 casts, just fishing the weed beds. They also do have some extensive sand flats at the river mouth, and you'll also get weed beds dispersed through there as well. And you'll also have a deeper section in the middle, which is great for drifting if you want to go over with blades or with soft plastics or the deeper diver lures. The next area I've just called Bemm Central, which is just the middle of the basin, I guess it is. Now on the right hand side, where the river entrance comes into the bay, is where you'll find some weed beds. There's a channel that runs up, and there either side there's some great weed beds there, and then further out into the main basin you will get some deeper areas which are great for drifting. Blades and vibes are the go here. And then onto Mahoganies. Mahoganies has weed beds all along it, and then right in very close you'll get the sand patches. A few 100 metres offshore you will also get the deeper drop off, which is again right on the edge of the weed beds, and you'll be able to fish blades and vibes along there and the deep divers. Now the entrance to Mud Lake I call Mud Lake Flats. There is a long weed bed that goes all the way down along there, and then right in close you get sand, and it's very shallow. A lot of people go to fish there, and it's 0.6 of a metre out to a metre before the weed starts, and then out beyond the weed beds it's nice and deep again where you can throw blades and vibes. The next location we're going to is Mud Lake. There's an entrance there, only a narrow entrance, and when you get in it opens right up, but this is very shallow. Now that the lake's just been opened up, you may find it's even shallower than normal, so it may only be a metre deep in the middle. Around the edge there is some great weed beds and tea trees for nice shallow work, and in the middle some nice sandy patches that you can just roll some hard bodies over. One of the favourite spots for a lot of anglers, especially if the lake is open, which it will be when we're down there for the Hobie comp, is the entrance. Down here, this is where we get some nice tidal flow, and there's some great weed beds along the edges as you are moving into the entrance, and right down the very end there's some nice sand flats. If the waves are coming in and pushing some fresh water in, this is where you'll pick up some big yellowfin. There's also some nice deep water right through the middle of that channel there, so if you want to do some blading or some vibing, this is a good spot to go. And the last on the list is Swan Lake. Now, I've only been up here once or twice before, I think, and you get there up a long windy path, narrow little creek I would call it, wouldn't call it a river. It takes you all the way up to Swan Lake, but it is prehistoric. It's a beautiful area to go up to. Once you get up into Swan Lake, there are some weed beds that you'll be able to find nice and easily, and there's also some deep water stuff. I haven't been right up to the end, so I really can't give you that much more information on that. Although the general size of the fish are normally not as big, but they can be quite plentiful. So if you want to get your bag, this could be a good spot to go to. And that's my rundown on the Bemm River. Now, you're probably saying, what about the river? Bemm River? You haven't even mentioned the river. Well, yes, there is a river that runs down into the Bemm. However, I've never fished up there. I haven't been past the river mouth at all. So I don't think I really have the knowledge to be able to put any detail down there. However, I know last year the guy that came second or third fished up there, and I think he said he caught 30 or 40 fish a day. So don't discount it. Go up there, check it out, and come back and let me know what it's like. I'll be able to include it. Regarding lures, all the Bream lures work down there. Two things I will mention though is bent minnows are really popular down there. I've had limited success with the bent minnows, but some people absolutely crush it. So don't discount those at all. And the other things is the longer style jerk baits and lures. I like throwing the evergreen tiny predators, but a lot of people throw the Daiwa double clutches, all the sizes, things like OSP dunks. So yeah, give them a go. 2 years ago, I think it was, Andrew Deeth won it throwing the River to Sea baby vibes. So they're always a good thing to have in your tackle kit. One other thing I'll mention is that I've tried to be as accurate as I can be with the information on here. However, weed beds and channels do change over time. So if you go somewhere and you think, he said that there was a weed bed here, but it's not now, that's just the way it is. Let me know. Maybe I'll do an updated one next year. I did mention Andrew Deeth before, but one thing you really must do is check out his podcast, The Bream Fishing Project. Andrew interviews anglers for all the tournaments around Australia. He's done 3 on the Hobie rounds that have been held down the Bemm River. I think 2020, 2023 and 2024 episode numbers were 2, 13 and 59. I'll put them up here, I'll check them out, but they're a must to listen to. He talks to the top 3 anglers. They give you their techniques, what lures they used, where they went. If you really want to get a handle on the place, listen to those. Anyway, everybody, that's it from me. I hope you've got a bit of information out of this and that you can use it. Let me know in the comments you think it's good or what I might have missed out on. But get down to Bemm, get a bag full of fish, and we'll see you next time. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.